What's up, ladies and gents, Noah here, and welcome to what is going to be the final Raid World War II video before the full launch of the game. Today I'm going to be giving my final impressions of the Raid World War II beta, having seen its final update and closing on the 17th. The game is due to release on Steam on the 26th of September, and I anticipate will be closely monitored and updated post-release, akin to Payday 2. This video, however, is designed to give full feedback on the beta for any developer interested in my 85 plus hours of experience in the game, and to a lesser extent let the viewer in on whether I predict a purchase on launch is worthwhile. Of course, this is a beta I'm reviewing, so I anticipate the full release will be filled with infinitely more content, but I know of few betas that aren't aimed at showing off a smattering of the full game's best content, so it does give us something to go off. The long and short of it is a purchase on release is only worth considering for known fans of Payday 2. We, of course, know what we're getting. For those of you looking for an exceedingly polished title on launch, I recommend waiting for the full game review, as I fear the game feels too reminiscent of launch Payday 2, even carrying with it some of the old bugs rapidly patched out of Payday, for example through wall interaction. My only fear for the game, which by the way I've enjoyed very much, once enemy spawning was fixed, is that instead of continuing Payday 2's legacy from what is the very polished patch 1.15, it's too reminiscent of Payday at its launch and may require a similar development cycle with all the bells and whistles of DLC, which of course did not go down so well. I just don't think Raid can afford the time Payday 2 had, especially with Payday 3 on the horizon, so I hope my initial fears are quelled come launch. That is utterly ignoring what I love about Raid from its unique setting, responsive weapons, and truly enjoyable mission objectives. Let's get into some of the specifics. Taking a look at Raid World War II's weaponry, while we've not seen the full roster of available weapons come launch, I was overall pleased by the weapons in the beta. To an extent, I like the idea classes and playstyles should be restricted to certain weapon types, but at times, especially early in the beta, they didn't always mesh. For example, the auto-aim of Recon on the Springfield rifle felt clunky and ineffectual. This was addressed as classes received some variety weapon support and the Sten and M1 carbine became all-class weapons. Some of my favourite beta weapons, such as the Bar and Thompson, were for whatever reason unupgradable, which felt like a shame and took the edge off using them however. Overall, all weapons felt exceedingly satisfying, appeared visually accurate to their real-world counterparts, and sounded and felt impactful. Outside of some really exceptional upgrades of clip size and damage, they also seem very well balanced, almost to the point of being slightly samey and not really adding to what was a small selection. I'm not overly worried about there only being a single secondary and 2 melee weapons. I'm sure that we won't be this limited on launch, but of course when talking about these weapons, upgrades come to mind. I love earning new attachments without the randomness of Paydays, but let's be honest, there are no imaginative challenges out there to earn them. Improving your weapon boils down to killing X amount of enemies, killing X amount of enemies with headshots, killing X amount of enemies by hip firing, and replenishing X quantity of ammo. Repetitive tasks that you will farm out irrespective of playstyle, as suggested in early line game line interviews. This was a bit of a disappointment for me and something that could easily be rectified. Also, capping attachment unlocked to certain levels is extra annoying when you're simply being capped out of counting kills completed for a later time. Finally, on the weapons, shotgun was king. Super fun and very effective, the M12 was a blast to use and I would highly recommend it for those of you picking up the game. Next up we have story, characters and setting, and looking more so at the design and atmosphere in the beta, we can see where most of Raid's advantages over Payday can be found. The story was admittedly all over the place in the beta, but I anticipate it will have stronger direction when played from start to finish, and I was a huge fan of the interactions and implications of missions such as Odin's Fall and Amber Train, the former involving the destruction of a sinister Nazi scientist Zeppelin, whom you feel Wolfgang has some ties to. This creates a narrative that was barely present at the launch of Payday 2, and from it, you can see why Hitler's getting so annoyed in those post-raid sections. Speaking of which, at least at first viewing, are absolutely brilliant. I've been quite impressed thus far by the reasonably diverse mission locations and settings, as well as overarching wartime feel that I personally have really enjoyed being immersed in. The raiders themselves are also well voiced and generally well written. There's a little something missing in them that failed to grip me like the more voiceless Payday 2 team, but I was not unimpressed by their mission-long discussions and natural narrative through a mission's objectives. Kurgan's definitely my boy if he just stops saying hands while stealthed. If there is one problem I do have, it's how Call of Duty Nazi zombies they are. It's like listening to stereotypes of stereotypes. far from original, difficult to not call Wolfgang Richthofen, but if you can look past that, they certainly won't put you off the game single-handedly, and they're not poorly executed. Now, I must admit, I feel thus far I've been fairly critical of Raid and don't want to overly bash a game I'm still very excited for, based on a short beta that improved massively from the first weekend to the last. Now, this was a great sign, especially for those saying the game didn't look close to launch when the beta first came out. And one feature I cannot knock is that of challenge cards, which added wacky challenges to your raids, including only being able to use melee and explosives for an entire raid, and my personal favourite being sideways walking crab people. These added replayability and rewarded more experience for tackling the fun challenges. In other cases, they would give boosts to certain skills and took from others, sometimes giving you important boons to help certain playstyles on harder missions. I was a big fan of this, coming as one of the bigger differentiators from Payday 2. Furthermore, you can unlock these challenge cards by completing missions and opening card packs out of the safe. The excitement of opening these packs and seeing what quality and rarity of cards you now have at your disposal is fun and addictive. I don't know anyone who doesn't get a small kick out of opening a pack of unknown cards. Having just made mention of safes, let's now talk about collectible dog tags and additional mission loot and objectives. In Payday 2, loot secure transfers into, understandably, money, and was later updated to also equate to experience gain. In Raid, grabbing or completing further objectives equates to higher quality final reward or unlock in your post-raid safe. My problem with this is the randomness involved. I had times where I completed the raid bare bones and received rare challenge cards and customizations for my characters. On others, I secured and searched for upwards of half an hour and received nothing but a minuscule experience boost at the end. Completing missions more thoroughly is rewarded unquantifiably. Obviously, I'd rather get a gold safe, but so what if I don't? I feel an additional currency system that could maybe be used to purchase character or weapon skins may be the answer to this problem, and would be the incentive needed to scour for dog tags. The dog tag system would have been better in my opinion if you were simply trying to locate all dog tags on the entire raid, and they would not respawn after the raid. Instead of adding replayability, they are a simple distraction from the action as it is. Also, don't give us a 1 second interaction time with them, let us automatically pick them up like Payday 2 keycards. Up next we have what was a big part of Payday 2, for me at least, customization in terms of aesthetics. I quite liked the fairly sparse top and bottom customization options in the beta and was particularly pleased by their Payday style descriptions. The complete game should have tons more and I think they're well suited to the unlock system. However, why you can't customize headwear I do not know, especially given the success of the Payday mask system. Furthermore, the fact that there are no patterns, colours and materials to grant unique customization and character to your raider of choice is a bit of a letdown and something they could expand upon in future free updates. In terms of weapon skins, we already have one confirmed for pre-order, so I anticipate more to be released. It's a reasonable idea if done correctly, and surely they'll learn from the Payday mistake and make it all free to obtain. Modders will also have similar access and support to today's Payday 2 in Raid, and this should bring future cosmetic content and maintain the life of the game. So far I've been keeping things fairly balanced, but I have to admit I was really unimpressed by the different classes' level up rewards and overall RPG elements in the game. Skills felt linear and unimpactful and often appeared to have an outright best choice at each level. Furthermore, there was little to no variance between classes and their playstyle options. Yes, they received some skills in different orders, but nothing groundbreaking, game-changing, or even as interesting as Payday 2's system at launch, let alone after the skills update. I just don't think it lends itself to focusing on certain weapons or styles of play. Everyone feels the same. Yes, they have different war cries, which is a system I really like, but beyond that, I'd like to see much more made of a game with the role-playing tag on Steam. Speaking of war cries though, I prefer them to deployables in Payday 2. They reward aggressive play and enable more killing, as well as having a team utility. Sharpshooter activates Soldier 76 style aim assist and increases the team's range weapon damage. Berserk reduces ammo consumption and gives the team a heal. Untouchable increases the hidden dodge statistic, making bullets less likely to hit you, and lets you see enemies through walls, while augmenting your team's movement speed. While my favourite, Ignition, gives you 2 extra grenades that become wide-range cluster grenades for the duration of the cry and reduces the damage your team takes from all sources. These all charge at different rates and do complement different styles of play, as well as weapon choices, just highlighting how much of a shame it is that the skill system isn't more robust and built around the war cries of different classes. To end things on a high note, let's quickly talk about raids we had access to in the beta. Of course, this is very subjective, as with Heist and Payday 2, but my favourite was the simple Tiger Trap raid, which had you blowing up tanks in a tiny courtyard. While the objectives were not complex, the claustrophobic design and waves of enemies made it one of the toughest and most intense on harder difficulties, complementing my love for the shotgun-wielding demolitions class and making it a ton of fun. It also worked quite well with the new health system. Of course, armor has gone. I don't particularly know where I stand on this. I'll generally just have to have more time with the game. It allows you, on this particular raid, to quite easily pick up health when you need it and hold out in an area, and you feel yourself going through the resources around you on the map. But in some ways, I do think armor allow for, again, more RPG elements to come out of the game, so it's a real toss-up between which system you prefer. However, let's get back to the raids. More intricate raids, such as Odin's Fall and Amber Train, had really diverse objectives that split well between stealth and loud, rewarding challenging stealth sections with faster to complete objectives. I did like stealth in raid, especially the reliance on getting up close and personal and meleeing without suppressors, at least in the beta. Once enemy spawns were fixed, I found stealth to be generally more fun, if still a little buggy, when compared to Payday 2. Raid actually has action set pieces, and the addition of anti-airgun sections were welcome to break up the action of ground Nazi shooting. I was also pleased to see fewer fetch the loot situations than in Payday, which comes down to the subject matter of the game, I would say. I felt fairly impactful and important, and mission objectives felt less like a chore when compared to shooting enemies. They blended better, and I feel to an extent this comes down to fewer drills and time locks and much more dynamite. In conclusion, Raid's beta showed off a game with a ton of potential in concept. Setting and raw gameplay were magnificent. It falls down primarily in terms of visuals, outdated engine, and at times it felt like a 3-year-old game. A more polished release with access to more raids, weapons, and skills may allow for the fun that undoubtedly resides in Lion Game Lion's Payday 2 spiritual successor to come to the forefront, and so I'd not count the game out just yet. I genuinely hope that the initial launch of the beta didn't put off too many people, and it has an active player base worthy of future content, but we'll have to wait until the game comes out on the 26th to be certain. Payday fans will love it, especially if they're slightly burnt out on the setting of Payday's 2 previous titles. For everyone else, I expect the game will be worth a try at a lower price in a future Steam sale, so don't forget about Raid World War II and what it has to offer. Of course, once the game is launched, I will be coming out with a review for it, and I may be saying or singing a completely different tune. Thanks anyway, ladies and gents, for watching this video. I anticipate the next one we will be returning to Payday 2 to show you what I've been working on recently, and I do hope to see you all then.